So amendments to the agenda?
Yes.
Yes.
No
What do we
problem.
have?
Carol put some on there, right? Some amendments?
I have a request for, there's Barry's Landing.
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah, I got that letter.
And there's also a,
Thanks, honey.
the other one's on there.
We could discuss that permit meeting for just 2 minutes. And then we have somebody coming in to discuss trails, but that's on here. I did want to talk to you about the Conway School. I'm glad you put that on there. I think that's all I have. Penny?
I make a motion to accept the agenda with the amendments just mentioned.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Great.
Check this out again.
So let's finish this topic we were on. So what was interesting with this, one of them was choosing consulting engineers or review engineers, and how people felt about that. It was
Yeah.
one of the hot topics, and how much people have to pay. And I think that we've at least gotten a couple of estimates typically, or...
We have for wetland stuff, too.
Right.
And for engineers, we've been kind of selecting in the rotation.
Right.
And trying to match someone who may be good for a certain type of project.
That's what I
Yeah.
think that they failed to mention the other day, is that, with the expense comes a different level of expertise or focus in
Yeah.
different areas,
Yeah.
So it's not
It's gotta be
one
somewhat
engineer fits
flexible,
all, yeah,
right.
right, exactly, yeah.
But I think the other piece is that those engineers should come up with some sort of a budget, and the applicants ought to be aware of that.
Right.
If they disagree, then before the process gets started, they have an opportunity to...
We do that. We definitely ask them to submit a proposed budget, and we run that by them.
Right.
But,
And then if there's a lot of flack, could always ask
Right.
for another one. It's going to delay their process some.
right. What Laura is asking Tricia is to have you and Bill Limbacher and her and I meet with Tricia just to go through this whole thing.
Okay.
And to even, maybe even take a look at the stormwater bylaw, and if there are ways we can make that more simple. That
Tighten
came
it up
up
a
a couple of
little bit, yeah.
times at that meeting, that it's
I'd like to
vague.
apply some of our procedures to that process.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, I mean, but you think of it, sometimes there's just a conflict in people's interests. I mean, when we
Right.
look at a project, we'd like to see the minimum amount of impervious surface. Somewhere along the way, there's got to be enough to get plows and
Get
fire
it
trucks
done, right.
and
Right.
all that sort of stuff. So there's always some give and
Right.
take, as long as we do it in a productive way, and it doesn't cost somebody a fortune or tie them up for months.
Yeah.
Especially if there was infighting, or not infighting, but conflicts within departments right in the town hall.
Yeah.
It winds up costing people a lot of money.
Right, right. And the other thing to come up with are delays, like if there's a way to have their permit continue to the next meeting and be the first one on the meeting and then kind of move on, rather than skip
Yeah.
a couple of meetings and then be down the
That's
road.
tough, though. I mean, I did understand what that guy said, that, if you've got a project already in process and you get bumped for a project that's just getting started. On the other hand, if you've got a project that you're trying to get off the ground, you want it to happen too.
Right, right. Not bumped, but I think he was talking about where you fit in on the schedule. Maybe you're earlier in the evening, you've already started, and
Yeah, so you...
Right, you're scheduled for 6:45, two people
Yeah.
come in, and then you're bumped
Yeah,
to 7 o'clock.
especially if we know that there's if you're paying an engineer by the hour.
Right.
Yep.
And he has to show up at 7, and you're not heard till 9:30 or 10, that just costs you a couple $100
Right.
or
But
more.
if it's a continuance, I mean, they're the top of my list.
yeah, right.
They don't,
We're not being critical of you.
No,
Yes.
I'm-
Yeah, well, actually,
I'm
yes,
just
they were.
stating that
Right.
we
They mentioned
do.
your name.
I'm sure they did.
Right. I think that's the right way to do it.
That's what we do, and then,
So if they just follow what we do, they'd be all set.
Best scheduler in town hall.
That's right.
And when are you going to see the new GIS system? Have you seen it? Have you been exposed?
This is the permitting system, the view permit that's in building. It's,
Yeah.
We get a notice all the time that there's a file over there that I have to review, but we haven't really been tied into it on our computer yet. And it's a state GIS layer that's brought in there, so it's not 100% accurate for our purposes, but it gives us an idea, it helps us. But, and it's much better for permitting purposes with buildings.
Sure.
We've changed the way we're doing it with Board of Health. Before, they submit a sheet to us saying they're going to do a perk at a certain site. Now, instead of getting a perk, which you don't know where the system's going to be
perk it, right.
located, they're going to do the perk, and then when they decide on a spot, they'll send it to us, and then we can figure out whether it's in our jurisdiction. So,
And I think we agreed at the planning board meeting or Board of Selectmen meeting that they should start naming the projects early in the process, so when we start to refer to the 40B and that
Right.
area, we can call it by a name, you know.
214
running
Clap
deer,
Road
yeah.
becomes
Yes, right,
Studley
yeah.
Farm, yeah.
Right.
Okay.
Could
Sounds
I
good.
just quickly continue the two RDAs, since neither one's going to be here until the 19th?
Sure.
That would be, I make a motion to continue Howe, 92 Clap Road, to November 19th.
What's that one? Is that the, is that
That's
still the
one with
trampoline thing?
trampoline.
I should have called them today.
I was-
meant to,
I was out there last week.
trampoline's still there.
Still there.
Trampoline is still
So, you know, it's almost like you should pull it. And I made a motion, did we?
Yeah.
Oh, you have a
Second.
second? All in favor?
Aye. And I
What
make-
time was that?
It's an RDA, there's
Oh,
no
okay.
time on those. And then I make a motion for Barry 20 Monticelli, and to be continued to the 6th, to the 19th. And I did make a comment before the meeting to Pat that, for a letter to go out to her stating that we have been very patient, and this has been going on since June anyways, and we need the proof that the fence is on our property, or we're gonna move on it without her
You're
here.
out of order.
Am I?
We need a second first before you can say all that.
Oh, all right,
Yeah, but if we can, yeah.
all right,
Okay.
I'm sorry.
Well, you have a second.
Okay, what you said is right, and I was going to say the same thing, so you stole my thunder.
I'm going to say something similar but a little different, but
Okay.
second,
Yeah.
all in favor?
Aye. So she's continuing. Well, I just feel that it has to come to an end, and whether they appear at the meeting or not, they have 2 weeks to get proof to us from a surveyor that it is on their property.
Right, I was going to suggest to Pat, an enforcement letter. You can continue the RDA for years if you want, but an enforcement letter that says, remove the fence by next meeting if you cannot produce an engineer-stamped survey
That's
showing
fine.
that it's on your property.
Because it was a
You still
violation.
got, right, you
Yes,
still got an
that's what it
extension on the
said.
hearing, but if you don't, when you come back for your extension
Okay.
next meeting, have the fence out of there.
I think that's consistent with other things that we voted
Yeah.
on in the past.
Well, it's
so-
been since
Yeah.
June, so it's
Yes.
time
Yes.
to make a move.
No, and they're not going to, I think, we know why
that's
they're not
fair.
going to produce the survey.
Well,
We think we do, yes.
Yeah, we think we do. We'll find out.
okay.
And I think it just goes with, even with the trampoline, I mean, they can continue forever and we can do nothing?
Right.
I don't think so.
Yeah, that one was, there was an open order of conditions allowing one project, and then this other one piggybacked on that, so the trampoline has to be out. But I called about maybe a month ago, I should have been on it this week, too. But the season's over for trampolines anyway, so get out of
Not
it.
mine. I go way into December on it.
He's okay with the neighbors.
I don't even know, I don't want to know what you're doing.
It's not pretty, I'll tell you that much.
Phil out there in his tutu and...
Yep. Oh.
Well, I agree with, I think that's a great way to do it, Paul.
Okay.
Is to,
All right,
Send an
we'll
enforcement
get
letter.
something out
Yep.
tomorrow.
Okay, that's, yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Wanna
Well, while you're on a roll for continuing things, Mazzola, 30 Inner Harbor Road, septic repair, are we continuing that too?
I think the Board of Health approved him. I watched
Board
it
of-
this afternoon.
Board of Health received the revised plans today, said that if they did what they were asked to do, they don't even need to meet with them again.
Yeah.
We didn't get a copy of it today, so what we talked about was telling them that by Monday, we'll know whether we can approve it. We'll probably do it the next meeting unless they have a closing between now and then, in which case we may accommodate them by writing conditions and then tracking down at least 4 people to sign. But we'd like to continue it till the 19th, unless there's some extenuating circumstance.
Was that the only outstanding condition was the BOH?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay, so I make a motion to continue Mazzola, 30 Inner Harbor Road to 6:30 on November 19th.
Second?
second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Great. Now, there's the other Mazzola, 30 Inner Harbor removable walkway. can we,
We already took,
Well, we already
That's an
took
order of
care of that.
yeah, I thought we did that, right?
We did that.
It's order of
That's a done.
conditions?
That's
So we're
order
just
of
going to vote
conditions you're looking at.
to OC?
Yeah,
are we all set with it?
yeah.
Walkway, we voted to
We
approve
got
it.
the order, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So has anybody had a chance to look at it? Are you okay with it? or-
So that needs to be signed, Cal, right, the order?
Yeah, the orders
Yeah.
of condition, do you want to do those now?
You sent 'em
Might
out.
as well, we're right
Oh,
here.
read those.
Okay, I make a motion to accept the orders of condition on 30 Inner Harbor Road for the removable walkway as written.
Second? All in favor?
Aye. The other one, we're not
We're
doing.
going
We got- we
And
just continued that.
I make a motion to accept the orders as written for Fagan, 24 Oliver Streets.
to, second.
All in favor?
Aye. Okay, so
Okay, for the-
official
yeah.
business is...
For the record, too, we should mention that there is an appeal period for these orders that are being issued tonight, and it's I believe it's a 10-day period people need to...
Say that again?
There's an appeal period if people wanted to appeal these, and I believe it's a 10-day
Right.
period for this, and we've received a few calls and made us think we should remind people.
Oh, you mean not from the owners, but
No.
neighbors or
Right,
butters
for
that have
anybody,
concerns?
party of
Okay.
10 or
Yep,
butters,
yep, yep,
yeah.
yep,
Okay.
yep, Yep.
You know.
Yep.
Okay. Enforcements?
Okay, there's a draft letter in your file on Otis Ave, but it's actually,
Otis
it's actually Gardner Road. But
It's Philly.
we've had mailings go to two different locations on this
Otis
one.
Gardner, I don't know.
Yeah. And this was the one where there was a town pipe put on two properties, and it was a shared easement, and it turned out it was more on Mr. Ayers' property. So that's been going through legal discussions between his attorney and town council. So this is another attempt at separating these two issues. We're back to the enforcement order. The fill hasn't been removed, and nothing has been replanted. So this is mentioning that the enforcement order is in effect. We're going to talk to town council about our next steps with him, and we're reporting it to DEP. We're giving them a chance to...
Yeah, I mean, that thing's
us.
been 2 years now.
Minimal.
Because it started, I think, in
2008.
2012, or 8?
Eight?
Yeah,
One of them.
when it was. It was before I got here, so it was 2012, I think.
Yeah, Ayers was 2012.
And so, now we're
And it
back
almost
on
looks
track.
like they've cleared a little bit more. I mean,
Yeah.
Clear dump.
Okay.
So, and it's been delineated by his person, but we'll need someone to confirm that. So we'll be asking him to set up an account to pay for us to confirm that. And then to do any of the work, he'll need a notice of intent because he's in the resource area. So that would be the next step. But we want him to come in and meet with
He
us.
was here, like, early on, and really we didn't get very far.
Yeah, then became a legal thing about the pipe.
Right. Okay. So this is, so send that out.
Yep.
And Mrs. Duffy's still on the list.
Yeah, I spoke with her last week, and our last letter to her was about getting rid of all the stuff that could wash into the marsh, and get rid of the crane that's out back. So the crane is gone, and all the stuff out back, she brought in a dumpster, and when I spoke to her, she's in the process of filling the dumpster with the stuff that's out there. So that's
Filling it
where
is the
we,
easy part. Getting rid of it is going to be the hard part.
right, right.
And we're already late with, and nobody's...
It's empty.
Right, I know, I mean, the storms are already coming.
Yeah, that's what I
And-
mean. It's-
Right.
We already had
and-
3 that I think of, right? 3? 3 storms, yeah.
Yeah, and the dumpster came this past week, and from what I've been told, there's not a lot in it yet, but I think we're living in a different location, but she has the dumpster there to fill it up with the stuff out there.
So how long do we give her? I was out there on Tuesday, I took pictures, I showed you the pictures. The
Yeah.
dumpster has 2 pieces of sheetrock in it, the back tail is wide open. There's bricks all over the yard, there's rubbish, there's just debris everywhere. And if a real northeaster comes, I hate to think where those bricks are going or who they're gonna hit. I feel as though she should get another week to fill that dumpster and start, I mean, she could just leave that dumpster like she has done previously for months.
Years.
Yeah, well, this is not the first dumpster
Well,
that's
is
been
the,
out
so the
there.
material that's on there, can you send her the same type of letter that it's on a Barrier Beach or whatever resource area you feel that it's in cite? Have we already given her the specific violations that?
Yeah,
She's already been given that?
yeah,
Yeah.
So I
yeah.
think she's got to get the same.
The dumpster's there, it needs to be filled. There was nobody there working on it, a perfectly good day that I was out there. I believe Paul checked on it today, another perfectly good day. I mean, we can't just let this go on for weeks with that sitting there. It's she's supposed to either do it herself or hire somebody. Those bricks are all over the backyard from the pictures I showed you.
And one of the other things we had asked was that when the floats are taken out, they not be resting on the marsh for the whole year. So there's a contractor coming tomorrow, the high tide tomorrow, taking them out and putting them up above the flood level up on the, and they're going to
Okay.
secure them. So they won't be on
Tomorrow? Is that what they told you?
the, yes.
Okay.
I think it's a real high
Yeah,
tide tomorrow.
It is
full
a
moon.
real high tide tomorrow, and that's why I'm asking, because I can be
Yeah.
there.
Right, but you should see Mr. Spencer's truck down there, so. So that'll be an
So will you
improvement.
give her a dead, I
Yeah,
mean,
so-
it has to, it can't keep going
Yeah.
on.
What would you like to have as a deadline?
7 days from now.
7 days from now?
Yeah,
And,
the dumpster should be
and the
filled.
dumpster removed,
Yeah.
filled and removed.
11-foot tide.
You know,
Fortunately, there's no storm, so.
the other debris that's on the yard, I don't know if any of you walked the back of the yard to the marsh side. Plastic toys and debris has
No.
all fallen
It's a
into
dump.
marsh.
I
What-
took
just a
pictures
dump.
of it
It's just a
yesterday.
dump, yeah.
The
And
whole
actually,
backyard, it's
I
bad.
agree with you, Penny, the bricks are a concern, but I'm more concerned about all the plastic and all
There's
the other stuff.
plastic,
that will
there's
move, really.
insulation, there's TVs, there's lumber, there's sheetrock, and then on top of all the discarded stairs, it's like a dump.
Is this something BOH can get involved in?
What's that?
Board of
And it
Health?
will
We had
fall
that
into the
discussion, didn't we,
paper
when we were
street
out
like
there?
it did last year.
Last summer?
Because I know
We were out
that
there.
she goes out there, because I've watched her report back on a couple of different visits. I don't know.
Well,
if
I
it's
just
applicable.
tell it a week, just get it
The
done.
19th,
Yeah,
I mean, the 12th.
yeah. Okay. Yes, Rosemary?
Do you know who owns this property?
Yes.
Is there somebody that you think owns it that we wouldn't know?
No, I just was curious as to whether you were contacting the right person.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah, we are.
Yes, we've
A number of meetings.
had a lot of
Feedback.
discussions with her.
Okay. Hoffler,
Okay,
did you ever go to that site? Have you been to that
Yeah.
site?
It's thick briar.
Yeah.
when you're
Well,
coming in.
yeah. Now it
I mean,
is.
nobody's done anything there in a while. This is an old,
Right.
What's the address, Frank?
it's Piggity Beach Road.
Yeah,
It's not easy to see. It's almost diagonally across from the entrance to the Piggity Beach parking lot.
Well-
Maybe back a little
You
bit.
back a little closer to where you come over when you enter on Peggotty Beach Road. It's a wooded area right on your left that comes right up to the street.
And
and-
go down a little bit and you'll see the mounds in the woods.
We
Does it have
met
a
Mark
house number?
Patterson down there with a guy, remember?
Across the street?
No, in the parking lot there. Remember, we had a coastal resource guy and you and me.
Oh, yeah,
I recall this, I'll
yeah.
go look at it.
This would be about 100 yards from there.
Okay,
Yeah,
okay.
before you take the right into the parking lot.
Gotcha.
On the opposite side.
Gotcha.
It would cross
This,
the road.
this letter that I,
Come over.
yeah,
This one goes off to Piggity Beach, the Piggity Beach parking lot's
Yep.
here. This goes up the hill. Edward Foster goes around like that. The property's like here.
Okay, just before you take the right.
Yeah.
so this draft letter, I mean, it did start in 2008, 2009, there was enforcement in 2010.
Right.
And then there was, the last thing was you're supposed to take some pictures of the stuff being removed and then to come in and meet about a restoration plan. So it seems like it just died,
Right.
yeah, so we're picking it up again.
Nice.
So
So,
if the letter looks okay, we can get this out
Yep.
tomorrow, okay?
How about Mr. Ackerbloom?
The last, I sent the email to them about the wall, and checked with DEP, and DEP said, there's really no way to justify the wall staying, so they have to take it out. They have an open order of conditions, and they could either ask for an amendment to leave it in, which is what I thought they were, leaning toward, trying to amend their order to include this. And I don't know if they're out of town, but I haven't been able to reach them. I don't know if they're in Florida or if they're still around, 228.
I haven't
Okay.
seen any sign of
Yeah.
anybody there.
So I tried by email, but, we want it removed. It's in violation of an order of conditions. So, I think that would be what the letter would say. We have an open order, you're in violation.
Seems to make sense.
Do we have his mailing address in Florida?
It bounced back once, but I think we ended up getting one letter down there. Yeah, one letter did come back to us, but,
That's right, because didn't DEP tell you they won't
Right.
allow it?
right.
And that's what we,
Impacts everybody around
yeah,
them.
and I thought,
yeah.
that,
And they said you could run like ropes, if you don't want plows dropping
Yeah.
stuff in driveway, just have a rope thing in there, so it's not gonna direct the water, and you could put 2 posts at the end, so.
yeah.
So without this being included in their order of conditions, we'll write an enforcement order based on not following your order of conditions. That's one of the options.
And, is it Cotty?
Okay.
Cote?
Yeah, I emailed Paul Marabito. I think first it was going to be Grady Engineering was going to develop a site plan of a proposed use of that lot, and then I think Marabito is now involved, Paul Marabito. So I emailed him to find out where they are, but they had asked the last meeting for some more time to do an RDA or an order and submit it, and we don't have it yet, so I can follow up, and then by the 19th, they need to have it in, if that's what you want to do.
Well, because that's, once again, been going on since the summer she was in here.
Right,
And that cutaway on
Right.
Central Ave is terrible.
yeah.
Absolutely a disgrace.
Yeah, and it's hard to say whether it's a delay because the engineers haven't put the plan together, or whether, I don't know what the reason until I speak with them.
Well, let's be a good motivator.
But there definitely was a violation there.
Yeah,
because they cut
you're
away
right.
the sand dune.
Right.
Once again, we're waiting for them to do what they
Yeah.
won't want to
In
do,
the
but
parking
they're in
lot.
violation.
Next to the
Yeah,
game
should
house.
we do the 19th again?
Yes.
Yeah.
Sure.
Don't,
And how are we going to address the violation?
Well, we spelled it out to them, we wrote them a violation letter, and they said, well, we'd like to come in, your choices are, you can come in with an order of conditions, or you can remove and fix what you did.
You can come
So
and
they
notice.
want to apply to see if this could be allowed. And, we're saying what it is out there now can't be allowed, but maybe there is some use, and they have a right to do that. And they said, we have an engineer, and the engineer said, yeah, I'm working with them, so at this point, they're doing what we're asking them.
They have
But
the
they're
option to
taking
do
it-
that, yeah.
But they are
But if
taking
they
their
take
time.
Yeah,
too
but
long.
now we're
Yeah.
limiting
We
that
have to
time,
push the
so,
envelope
yep.
on them.
Well, it's time to
Yep.
Yeah, okay.
get them.
Marion Road.
It's a.
Yeah.
Well, that was interesting.
Okay, yeah, this...
Who hasn't been there?
Yeah, has everybody been, there's couple of hay bales out there now, but they're really not doing any good, so, the reason it falls to us is that it was never a stormwater permit under planning board. They're outside the flood zone. Building issued a permit, they raised the grade, but it's legally raised, I guess. It's just that it's not securing all the soils, and it's washing into pipes that go in
The
there.
first,
You got the pictures. I sent them,
yeah, thank you. The first hurricane,
These two?
Bill, the first
That-
hurricane that we had, I went by it, and there was a good amount of silt flowing off that property down to the catch basin.
And then I went by it, and it wasn't going down to the store. Then we went to visit, and it was obvious that it was going down. You
Yeah,
could
it
see
was
the trail.
dry by that
Yeah,
point,
right.
yeah, yeah. The person who owns the property is asking to see the pictures, so if we have any,
I'll see if I can find them.
I can find them.
Mine are,
so, I've contacted him by phone, we met him in person and we contacted, but now we can send a violation letter.
Yep.
And it would help, maybe even the next time it rains, to have a better depiction of what's going on.
I can head down there if you want, no problems.
right.
And I'll send you the pictures I have.
Yeah, because it really goes right into a pipe and then right out onto the beach.
Yep.
So,
Oh, really?
Yep.
Okay. So all of those. Anybody else?
no,
Oh, you
it's-
got
it's-
agent's report, Pat. Bunker zone?
Oh, yeah, so Mr. Bongazone at 277 has removed all the lawn like we asked him to.
Yeah, I
And-
noticed that today.
Yeah, so that's all been taken out. There'll need to be plantings, and it's going to be between him and the developer who has to do that. I'm just going to say it's between you two, somebody do it. You'll never get a certificate of compliance. I mean, it's not for us to really choose who puts them in, but something has to go in, so. But he did cooperate when he got the response from the commission to take out the lawn,
Okay.
so.
Did you perchance send the note I asked you to Sullivan, my buddies? That it isn't over, that we
Yeah,
do
no,
have to
I haven't
plan.
said that. They emailed us, and I haven't responded, but I
Well,
can,
their
yeah.
email is they just wanted to drop it all, but they do have to replant and put something up
Yeah,
for the 50-foot buffer,
yeah,
because they tore everything out.
you're right.
Yeah. Could you just
It
be
didn't
sure?
get on the agenda, but I remembered you saying
Well, I
that.
just want to
Yeah.
be sure they realize we're not
Yeah.
done with them. Whether they
If we put
plant
all the
now.
violations on the agenda, it'd be a 3-page agenda, so
Oh,
we
I know,
just pick
I
and
know,
choose.
but I want it planted come spring at least.
Yeah,
All right, I can make a motion right now to accept the minutes of October 1st as written.
Second.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Just as a side note, I went down to Border Road
oh, yeah.
as,
Right.
yeah, I told you I was gonna, and
Oh, boy.
it was raining heavily when I was there, but it was the first day of the rain, not the second day of the rain. And the water at that point was not really reaching
That pipe or
the
anything?
pipe, or barely reaching the stone. So it would seem that, a lot of it is getting clogged upstream someplace.
Okay.
Okay, as this one's not on the agenda for,
Oh, no, I
we
shouldn't,
can
right.
take, your comment on that, but there shouldn't be a discussion.
Okay, sorry.
And
Yeah, I
the-
should have added it to the, sorry.
The 19th is not going to work for him, I think, or was it, the 19th was going to work? Well, we have a scheduled time for him to appear at the next meeting, so,
Okay.
Is he on the next one? I mean,
oh, the one
No,
after.
he isn't.
Is it the following one?
No, it says Glades Marsh, something information. This information, I don't know what I was
Is
writing.
that mosquito control?
I
Yeah, The
think so.
19th, I think is good for him, now that I'm looking at,
Do you
yeah,
want to put that in?
11/19.
$158 border. Okay, that's on 21.
Just one second. Sir, are you at the trails?
Yes.
Maybe we could break away, then you don't have to get bored for the evening.
Actually, we're very entertaining.
You should have seen us a few minutes ago.
Yeah.
Speak for yourself.
You want to jump up there, or? We got the couple of emails from Kim. Are you Mr. Blake?
Yes, Bill
Oh,
Blake.
great. So thanks for coming.
Absolutely. So I saw the emails from Kim back and forth from everybody. Kim asked me to be the representation, I don't want to say for her.
Right, no, she said she's got a lot of irons in the fire, and
Right.
so,
So basically, we were just looking at trying to come up with a group to address or go out and help with the town, or help the town with the trails and the maintenance of the existing trails that are out, whether in the West End or wherever they may be in town.
sure.
So there's been a number of people that have gone out. I guess there's been some issues with missing trail maps, and a lot of people are afraid to go hiking out on the trails in the West End because without a trail map, you're not quite sure where you're going. So that's some issues, some safety issues. And Kim just said, like I said, come out, sit down with you folks and see if we can come up with a plan.
Great.
She does have online, I don't know if anybody's been online, it's a Facebook page, it's called, it's Scituate Trails, I believe it's called. It's called Trail Talk. Sorry about that. And that's just an informal group where people can go and talk about the trails that are in Scituate.
Okay.
And discuss anything about the trails that they want, whether there's trees down, if there's safety issues, whatever.
Yeah.
And that's out there. There's, I don't know, maybe 60, 80 people on there.
Wow.
It's growing,
That's great.
yeah.
Yeah.
There's another group in town, it's a Facebook group called Scituate Monthly. And on that group, people talk about the trails as well. And then whatever conversations are on that gets forwarded over to the Trails Talk.
Great.
So there are people in town that want to, go out and help with maintenance, bring their chainsaws, I'm not a big proponent of that
Sure.
because I don't know if they're, qualified to be doing that or not.
Right.
But, that's something that we should definitely, if you want to talk about it.
Yeah, that's great. Well, I mean, I'll jump around in a second, but, we've acquired a lot of open space. And the idea was that we would have trails and make it affordable or to everybody that would like to use it.
Right.
Unfortunately, we've had some delays. We want to get some more parking created and integrate that with some additional trails. It's been a little bit of delay in acquiring a couple of pieces of the Key property because of some land court issues and things like that. So unfortunately, it hasn't moved along quite as much as we'd like, but we do have a decent network. And then hoping by next year, we'll also have a couple of large parcels on the other side of Clap Road that will have some more new trails.
Right.
And, obviously be looking for help and input. I guess making sure, there was a little bit of correspondence, it's a little disjointed. Ernie Foster is offered, he has a printing business, and he's offered to do some GIS mapping of these trails.
Right.
What would really be ideal, and it probably won't happen this year, when Mr. Galvin was in Hanover, he put together a wonderful map.
The Open Space Committee did, I was
But
part
part of it.
Yeah.
So, it's really thorough, and I'd like to see that happen. A couple of years ago, there was some money appropriated at CPC for sort of this mapping thing, but it was sort of town-wide with different trails, but I think it's been reviewed, and I think somebody's picking up the ball with that. It sort of stagnated a little bit, but that's happening.
Now, did that go through the was that part of recreation?
Yes, yeah,
Okay.
yeah. But we've been discussing that. I happen to be the liaison from Concom to CPC, and it's been discussed the last couple of meetings, and Matt Brown was helping with a piece of that, and hoping to get that back up and going. We've funded it, and there's been a little bit of money spent on it, but it's been sort of just sitting there.
Right, I know Ernie well, so.
Okay.
We've had that conversation about helping with either, coming up with that piece of it, or if there are new maps that are needed as well.
Sure.
Ernie can certainly.
Well, I think
Go down that path.
maybe what might work, and Ernie emailed that he couldn't be here tonight, as well as, there was one other person that weighed in on that, but even if we sort of have an interim map, if Ernie's pretty professional, he can put together a little bit more. You're right, people are concerned, they look at the entrance to the trail and then it's really not a huge piece of land, but if you're not familiar with it, you don't want to get stuck out there.
Right.
And I think we've been pretty fortunate. There's been a small group of folks over the years, Howard Matthews, a couple others that have done a great job of keeping things open. Certainly feedback from folks is great to know.
Yep.
And then maybe we could maybe join up a little bit and create a work day or two, is my vision. Maybe somebody else has some other ideas, but if we kind of do that and we get to know each other a little bit, and then I personally don't do Facebook, but if somebody wants to shoot some of that, I should try to do some of that, but an email
Phone is
to
to
the...
Rotary. Never mind, stop.
But to the, maybe you can Facebook Bill, and then he can email me.
Which you won't respond to.
Don't want to. No.
Wow.
This is entertaining, you
We told you we were entertaining.
But I'm thrilled. I mean, I'm really glad to hear that number of people are out there and using the trails. I think it's awesome.
We looked at, right now, there's probably, Ernie's one of the guys that I've talked to, and I can't remember the gent's name that's done a lot of the work out there. He's...
Howard Matthews is a...
Howard?
Howard.
Yeah, I mean, he's done a great job.
Yeah.
And he hand drew the map that's out there now, and,
Yeah.
he's out there, I know he's an older gent, I'm not quite sure, but...
But he and his wife...
He's spry than the rest of us. I was out cutting trees with him last week.
Would that GIS program, would that be accurate enough to look at the trails, or it's still?
Yeah, I think it would be,
I
yeah.
wonder if you could use that.
But I think what's going to happen, I think what we'll wind up with is a couple of interim maps. We'll add to them.
Yeah.
And then we have money, it's kind of all linked to the Crosby parcel. When we acquire that, we have money set aside to put a new access road and parking.
Yep.
And there's already some really great cart paths out there. We won't have to do much work to have a nice trail network on Crosby.
Right.
And the Damon piece, we have some money set aside, so when we acquire that, we can also create a little parking area. It's a little difficult to connect Damon and Crosby because it goes through the South Swamp, but once we have those pieces, that's something that maybe we'll go back to CPC and talk about some sort of boardwalk or something
Yeah, raised one.
through that, so that people
That
could
could take
actually
down the,
make a nice loop.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's another trail that's at Clap Road, sort of towards Grove Street and Man Lot, that's part of the Whitcomb Pines. It's a small little trail, but it pops back out at the town forest, but theoretically, you could cross over and go to Ellis. And then, then there's the whole network around Bates Lane, and that's gonna get larger because we've acquired the Higgins-McAllister piece, and we're gonna try to create a small parking area at the end of Hollycrest.
Yes, Hollycrest.
And then, so even if a couple of people were hiking together, they could literally leave a car at one location and park at the other end, and
Right, do a loop.
and if they, if that's what they were inclined to do. But when we talked with DPW, we have money set aside for parking and like a trailhead and maybe some handicap access at Bates. And we were sort of hoping to bundle all of that work together and send out proposals, and hopefully with economy of scale, get more for our buck.
Right.
And I've been saying it for 2 years, but I believe we're this close to passing on the Crosby piece. At town meeting, we're going to vote to relinquish the town's use of the right-of-way in lieu of having our own access. And then hopefully with that, the Crosbys will be ready to finalize the sale of that piece of property. So it's too bad, because I think we were thinking that was going to happen sooner and would get going with some of that parking. But I do think it's fairly close.
Right.
But maybe what if we would to just think about pick a weekend or something and do something up at Mount Hope and meet some of the folks that are really interested, get a little bit of an introduction.
Absolutely.
And then we could figure out who has interests in which areas. And then I think sometimes it's nice to be able to put a face to a name and
Right.
say, so-and-so was out at Ellis and a couple of good-sized trees are down and they need to be dealt with. That would be huge.
Right, well, what we were thinking of is, and that sounds like a great idea, I mean, let's come up with a weekend, and I'll call you, you call them. and
Yep.
We'll figure it out,
You
but,
put it out there and
somebody will see it.
Yeah,
But from the kind of the people that are on these two groups now, they're looking at doing some sort of little subcommittee, so they can kind of let it gel, figure exactly what they want to do.
Okay.
And maybe at this meeting, or the introduction day, if you will, we can kind of throw that around or banter that about
yeah.
amongst everybody.
Well, I'd like to know what other people would like to have in the trails, you know? We did this Conway School report to look at sort of all the forest needs,
Right.
but part of it is creating a nice network of trails that people are comfortable using, so I think that's great. I mean, I bump into people on and off. My own piece of property on Clap Road has been used for parking for the Bates Lane Trail. And if somebody comes out, I'll introduce myself and just ask them what they've seen or were they happy with it. But,
Right.
you know, I don't see enough folks that are using it, so.
Right, well, you know, if we can get those trails, whether they need to be cleaned or reblazed or signage or whatever, then we will certainly get more people out there.
Okay.
And you'll be having lunch with everybody.
That's great. That's great. I want to, you know, and just before I forget about it, do you remember it was like maybe 6 months ago, I noticed somebody had dumped a whole bunch of trash at the Ellis.
Yeah.
And then somehow, I don't know whether I sent you a picture of it, and somehow it got circulated and it got dealt with right away. And I don't know if you were part of getting that done, but if
Was it the couch that was dumped there?
I think so, maybe. It was good to get that, you know, it kind of puts a little shame on some.
Yeah, well, I do a little cleanup over in my neck of the woods. I live over on Kings Way, and we clean up woodland. I have 2 other guys that come down and help me probably every, 6 weeks.
Yeah.
So we post that, and we found a TV, and the next day, it was a big, it was a big TV. It took somebody, probably 2 people in their truck to get it down there. And I posted that, and then it was gone the next day. It was
Kind of
pretty
that
fast.
the road that never got developed, people dumping
Right
it down.
there, Lotus right there.
Wow.
So, you throw that out there and you get people to,
Yeah, we're going to watch, we're
on a
watching.
scale, you
Oh, no.
post
That's
something
great.
like that.
That's terrific.
Yeah, because we are seeing, it's a shame, you know, there's a scout group that's going to clean up the small Ellis parking lot this
Yeah.
weekend, but I was there with these kids, and the more I looked around, I was just amazed at the amount of junk that people just,
Yeah.
so.
Yeah, well, even, on that group, on Scituate Monthly, there's, there's 2,000 people on there.
Right.
So it's, fairly popular. There's probably another couple thousand that probably look at it, but if you start posting that type of thing where the trails are being cleaned up, or there's new maps or whatever,
Right.
again, 2,000, and they tell 3 of their friends, then, they've told 8,000 people.
Yeah.
So,
Well, plus if we could
Good
get
thing.
that map online, people could just they could print it, they could either have it in hand, or they could.
What are
you know,
they using
could
for
do
a
that.
program for the trails? Are they using Visio, or what are they doing with it, do you know?
I have no idea.
Right now, it's mimeographed.
It's,
Yeah.
crank it off by hand. Yeah, the blue, your figures are
Blue
staying.
ink.
I'm just thinking that if we have it in a program, that we could actually expand it, so we have.
Well, that's
the
what we
trail.
will do.
Yeah, right.
Jump to more of that, and we
Yeah.
can get some CPC money. Right now, it's very informal, it's on an 8.5 by 11 with some coloring, and then there's some little squares out on and this is just around the Bates Lane property, but it's not badly marked. It could be a little bit better, but,
Well, you get me the maps, then I can put it into a
well,
program.
I'll find you the
Yeah,
map for,
here, make a note in your book. I can't help it today, I just.
Well,
Do you need a pen?
we can,
no?
we can certainly make more copies, either through Ernie or somebody. So,
Sure,
if you
yeah.
need-
Let's go for a walk, Bill.
No, I'm gonna get mugged in the parking lot.
Yeah, you're gonna be left in
Lose
the
them out
woods.
there.
But
Help me.
Yeah.
one problem we did have up there, because I was the one that did the markings out there with Howard and his wife, and we went out and And we used to keep the maps, the little ones, the colored one that he did. And we'd go back the next day and it'd be gone.
Gone.
Somebody just swiped them out of the kiosk, and it's unfortunate.
Right.
And, I don't know.
Well, I know over at,
Because-
if you go over to Hingham, to Wampatuck,
Yeah.
so just from the standpoint of the maps, they're in the same type of thing where you open the container up and you can
Yeah.
grab one or you can grab all of them.
Yeah, well, see, that's what happened. Somebody,
Right, grabbed them all.
and it's unfortunate,
Yep.
so then you get a little discouraged of
But if we email,
copying them and putting them out.
if we take that map and it gets scanned and it gets emailed, then anybody that's on that could literally take that map.
Oh,
print-
no.
print
Right,
home.
or
I
put it
know
up
what
on
you're
the
saying.
town
Do it
website and they
yourself.
can download it
Yeah,
themselves.
and
We'll be looking
instead
at it
of
on
us
their phone
putting
as
them
they're
out.
hiking.
Yep. Download it
Exactly.
right onto
No,
their
no,
phone.
you're right,
Yep.
because I don't like to keep putting the paper ones out there.
Right. Well, I
you
mean,
know,
when I go hiking.
And I don't want to find them in the woods when I go out there either.
Oh, absolutely.
You know?
Absolutely not. I mean, I go out hiking, I always take my kids, and they're the ones they're the keeper of the map.
Yeah.
They help me, because I don't know where I'm going.
Right.
They guide me to get to wherever I'm going to. But you always have that issue of people taking them and, either
Yeah.
jamming them in their pocket or throwing them in their backpack or, using them as confetti.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
unfortunate, but that's,
It is. But if we can get it electronically done, not that I could ever use it, but that's okay.
also with Hingham, they have that little box, you can throw a couple bucks in there.
Right.
So it's a kind of a collection thing. So, from a printing perspective, I know Ernie's great, he'll print whatever you need, but at some point, economies of scale, he's not gonna be able to print anymore.
Right.
And we can go to Staples and they can print some things too, but at some point, that freebie thing will go away. But if you go down the path of maybe putting in a little metal box out there, get, someone to build that.
Now Pat's getting interested.
But,
Yeah, no, the trustees do it. They have a little thing at Norris for just a
Absolutely. There's always
volunteer.
people, if you go in there on a Saturday or Sunday, there's always people throwing a couple dollars in there,
Sure.
get $2 or $3 from everybody, and here's your, your money for your maps.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Penny, does the kiosk have one of the maps in like a?
Yes.
Okay, enclosed area.
Close.
Yeah, in some towns, the Eagle Scouts or the Boy Scouts do all the kiosks and do that with the maps. They put them in a plastic.
And then there's a couple of spots out on the trail where there's a board, and then it's in plastic. It says, "You are here,"
Oh, yeah.
on the trail. So hopefully, I find it hard on that trail to really get lost, because it is just a big loop, as long as you stay on, watch for the white markers on the tree. But one thing I did want to say, and Howard last week when we were out cleaning up the Ellis property, there was like 6 down trees. We went out there one morning and cut them up and moved them. Anyways, that he was saying that the wheelwright and stuff, that we do want trails for people to walk, but we don't want to, well, at least I don't, and I know Howard, we don't want to overpopulate these areas with too many trails, because the animals do need some privacy. So we have to really think about that when we're doing the new trails. Because let's face it, we've got the turkeys in the backyard, we've got the deer in the backyard, and if we get really crazy out there with trails, you're just scaring the population
Yeah,
away.
well, I mean, I don't think,
Yeah.
overboard is the way to go either.
Yeah. That's all. I just want to be really careful, because when we were talking like the loop.
But we have used taxpayer money to acquire this property, and I think people should,
I want them to
people should be able to
but I
use it
just don't want to
easily.
get, where we're too crisscrossing. Yeah, definitely, Frank.
No, but I understand what you're saying. I mean,
We just have to
we don't,
be
it doesn't
careful.
need to be a raceway, but I
That's
think there's some really pretty spots.
Oh, there are, that I'd love to
That-
get into myself.
that people
out there.
should, and they own it, essentially everybody
Yeah.
does, so.
With the Damon property, which we purchased last year, I don't know if it's changed hands yet, or,
It's almost there.
That's
So-
another one almost.
right? But I mean, there's cart paths on there. Is there any plan in the future to not only say convert those cart paths, but, or, or just open them up a little bit more?
Yes.
Or, is that,
We definitely, well, a combination of things. When we do have that piece of property, we're just, actually, we're fortunate the local scout troop has a series of badges coming up. There's some Eagles, and they're always the best ones, because an Eagle Scout project is pretty intensive. Right now, we've had some Life badges, and they're the ones that are like cleaning up the Driftway Park or the Ellis piece, and I think I got your email.
Like one day, it's...
Yeah, it's a one, but they've accomplished a fair amount, so we can do that. I mean, there's the Hubble piece of property that's off of Indian Trail, there's a rough path that goes through there, but we should be getting that path opened up. People could literally walk from the backside of Indian Trail through the Hubble piece, it attaches to a conservation piece, and they come out on Old Gannett.
That loop there at the end of Water Street,
right?
it comes out there.
So, I think maybe with really an interested group and say, who's got an interest in this piece of property? And if they said they were, certainly myself or someone else could walk with them, we could flag it. We'd take a look if we decided there was a wetlands that we have to deal with. An awful lot of them do have something that we have to be a little careful of, but we could get that trail opened up. Somebody with some GIS experience could get it marked, and, we'd have a trail.
Right, yeah, I mean, it sounds great. I'm always concerned with, the midnight ninja guys that want to go out there with the backpack and the chainsaw in their backpack and
Yeah.
clear out the whole damn thing.
Well, I think we're definitely gonna be careful of that, and I think that's part of the discussion we'd have, and say, first it's gotta be marked, and then here's what, we can't cut anything, bigger than 3 inches, or so, some will come to. I went with, the Appleton piece of property. We have a farmer that's doing some organic farming, and he got me out to a workshop with town forests and things, and it was really cool, and they were showing how they're actually harvesting some firewood and then selling it, and people can volunteer. So people that are really knowledgeable that work with saws will actually do some of the cut. They might even fell the trees before people are out there.
Right.
But then the cutting of the wood and splitting is done with a group, and it becomes fun. And then, as you point out, then there's some money that could be raised. The firewood could be sold, and that money goes to improving the woodlands. So
Right.
it was an interesting piece, and they're already doing it in a few communities, so.
Yeah.
Well, we should probably try and set a date in the near future for Mount Hope, or
Yeah.
Excellent.
How do you reserve that building? Do you guys,
Frank.
you can go through Frank?
Well, I can email a couple of people.
there's some people that...
It's not hard.
Uh.
No.
It's a very popular place, but we can,
Well, we've squeezed in there before.
so, you think November, December, what do we want to do?
It's up to you guys. I mean, I'm game any...
I mean, I know there's it's hunting season right now,
Yep.
Right,
so, Saturdays are probably not a good day to go out there.
right.
Or so I think Sunday is the day that you're not allowed to
Sundays are
hunt.
okay.
Yeah.
There's nobody hunting on Sundays.
When does hunting season end?
End of December?
There's a muzzle loader that goes into December.
Yeah, the end of December.
A muzzle loader?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Isn't
black
that like
powder.
from the Pilgrims?
Yep.
You get a paper book and you get a muzzle loader? Yeehaw!
You ever hear of bow hunting? That's from the Indians.
Bow
It's the
hunting's right
muzzleloader,
now,
yeah.
I think.
Sorry.
You wear your bright colors right now, Lisa, when we go out.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Very bright.
Wear that scarf.
Oh, yeah.
Yours.
No, we're gonna wrap you in it. Oh. Send you a
We
present
could,
now.
Not too many people will be standing by you.
Yeah.
Scarf.
They don't stand by me now.
I want to see what's said about the Conservation Commission on the next Scituate Connect. That's what
I'll tell them to
So
keep it
set
clean.
set a date to meet up there. Probably December, you're gonna get into holiday parties and stuff.
I had no idea this was here.
Absolutely. Great, thank you.
First
weekend.
Everything in
My first too.
Massachusetts to do, yeah.
Specifically,
We'll
my
take it
cell
by
phone's
state.
on there, so.
Okay.
I never even knew all these things
January's
existed.
always nice out there, too.
Well, they used
we're
to
not-
do that.
Yeah, we used to do the swamp romp.
I remember.
Well, let's not push it out too far. Let's try
No,
to,
whatever you guys want.
The cross-country skiing, I did that New Year's
I
Day.
mean, I
one day.
would prefer to do it sooner rather than later, but.
Yeah.
I know,
Well, we
like I said,
have
holidays
people's
and-
interests and stuff, yeah.
Right, exactly.
Absolutely.
well, I mean, we're not going to do it the last weekend in November because that's Thanksgiving, but
Yeah.
this is the 23rd.
What's the third weekend, is that? Third Thursday.
This is Sunday.
So this is just to meet
Yeah,
at
just
Mount Hope
to
and
get an
just get...
idea
yeah,
of people, what they're really
see who's
interested in
interested and
doing.
who shows up.
Because we already own the Hubble property. I mean, there's no reason we can't get started out there. We own the real
Why don't
property.
I try to find out if the building's available and let's tentatively say the 23rd?
Okay, that sounds.
What do you think, Bill?
to me.
I agree.
Okay.
November 23rd.
And you have a time?
Where are we meeting?
Then, yeah, you meet your people.
What do you think? 1 noontime?
Yeah,
1?
It's kind of after church.
Yeah. 1 o'clock.
1 o'clock, yeah.
There's still a few hours to get out a little bit, but more importantly, I think it's going to be, kind of meet people and sort that
We'll
out.
see who's really interested,
Right.
you know.
All right, you've got contact information, right, Pat?
Yep.
And I'll check on the Mount Hope building. I think it just makes sense there. I mean, it's kind of in the core of,
Well, we're right there. and
That's a great building, too.
Okay.
That
that's
is a
where
cool
we have
building, yeah.
Parking for the Litchfield,
okay,
Right?
yeah.
let's,
Sounds great.
thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you very
Coming, Bill.
much.
Yeah.
Coming.
Great to have people out there helping.
Make sure I won't bring the busload of people, I'll just bring the
No.
Yeah.
people.
But, you know, it'd be nice to see what people, if they're, you know, how serious too, because sometimes we've had people, oh yeah, we'll come and,
Well, it doesn't,
Nobody's got back-
you know,
No,
it
but I know,
doesn't have
but-
to be 50. If there's
No.
10 folks that
that's what I'm
are
saying.
interested and then they,
What I'm
Yeah.
more interested in is the longer-term maintenance of the.
Yes.
You know,
Well,
you
see,
get
that's
10
it.
people and they come in and they say, oh, we're gung-ho, and they do it for a year, and then they all go away.
Yeah,
And then
exactly.
we're right back to where we were before.
Yeah.
And you have to start all over again. So if we can get people on board and
Sure.
get a couple of younger people that want to do the same thing, then you have that longer-term plan in place.
Well, that's exactly it.
that'd be
Yeah.
great.
Yep.
Okay.
Thank you very
Yep,
much.
we'll be in,
a lot.
get back to you
Thank
too.
you so
Thank you.
Yep.
Except when Howard calls me, then I'll go cut trees with him. I can't say no to Howard.
Conway School? request
Yeah,
thing?
I saw that request, they were just
Yeah.
looking to see. You know what they wanted to do? And I don't know whether the town would pay for it or not. When the Conway School had been here, I went out
Right.
to
you went
the
up there,
school and listened to their report and the students that had done that one. And I spoke a little bit to the fellow that emailed you. And what they told me is they were really interested in studying the coast and the impacts of
Wow.
Yeah.
sea level rise. I mean, they
forgot
were,
about that.
Oh,
so I don't know how we would, I mean,
Wow.
a study from them is around $10,000. Maybe 7,500. I think we got them to do it for 7,500.
7,500, you're right, Frank.
But if they did that same kind of thoughtful, comprehensive work,
Yeah. That was a
That-
great
that-
report
Yeah.
they did.
but if you think about taking that and taking it with some grad students and think about the various impacts of sea level rise, you know, and not just the damage that can be done, but the economic issues, you know, people's livelihood, homes, and get that same sort of coverage, it may be very helpful in getting other money for foreshore protection, or at least looking at how we're gonna deal with some of that. And it's a pretty open, no one goes in there with an agenda, which is nice.
Right.
You know,
Yeah, I mean.
I don't know who, I mean, do you think that we can ask the selectmen?
Yeah.
Or Tricia for some money?
Why don't I draft an email for Tricia and the selectmen, run it by you guys and
And the coastal
person,
Yeah.
Nancy.
Nancy, right, yeah.
Nancy went out and recruited someone from URI School of, I think, Ocean Engineering. Got a student up here that's working with her now already, within a week. So, yeah, she'd be a good one to involve in this.
Okay.
It's very nice.
She is.
Terrific.
Yeah.
But I
very
think,
good.
I do think that they would go a long way with something like that.
And their reputation is so good, and Tricia really liked their report, too,
Right.
so.
Yeah, but that was, I mean, maybe they've got some other interest, but that, to me, made a lot of sense. And I brought it up a little bit after that, and I didn't get much feedback, but I think that would be real good.
Yeah,
Okay.
all right,
Yep.
sounds good.
Did we get any, I mean, we have this article coming to town meeting
On what?
on the access through the town
Livingston.
forest.
Yeah.
I mean, I think we're the custodians of that town forest, and I don't believe anybody's ever come to us and said, what do we think about this?
Right. There's a plan, a draft plan, sketch plan that's shown down the hallway, and it shows the entranceway in off of Clap Road having a football field, a parking lot, and something else, and there was some wetland flagging up there, so Carol and I were looking around to see if there was ever an ORAD, confirming, and there is, so we have an ORAD in there, but as far as, the trade-off and how many ways in and how much wetland issues, we haven't really been that involved in
No.
this. Yeah.
My concern, I mentioned it to Pat, because we looked at the map last week, that I'm very concerned about it going to town meeting and not having all the information, because the proposed plan that they're showing, and it's just a proposed plan where a possible field would be, it's only, the whole side is only about 20 feet from the wetlands. And, that, as we all know, that's not a done deal until,
Right.
there's some studying done on it, and I really am concerned
Well,
about
don't forget, if
this.
it's a 40B,
But does that include a field on town-owned property? They're gonna give that. This is what.
But
I
that's a
just-
separate issue, like Frank was saying, the wetland setbacks and everything's a
No,
different
no,
animal
but
than a 40B.
what I'm saying is, when it's presented at town meeting as a trade-off to the town, I hope it is not presented as a given that fields can go on this piece of property. There's a lot of information that needs to be gathered. The proposed plan shows it only 20 feet from the wetlands.
Right.
And that is not, to me, automatic stamp that a field can go there.
but I haven't even read the article to
Yeah.
see what it,
Right.
I think it's asking, would they consider swapping property, right?
And the town would get several acres as part of the trade,
It's
but
27 acres.
if it doesn't go through as a trade, they're still thinking 40B in that same area, and that would involve heavy wetland crossings from
Right.
the
And
side streets.
Right.
Well-
But I guess what's frustrating, from my standpoint, is that this has never come to our commission. I mean, the town meeting's in a week, and no one's ever come in and said, gee, we're thinking about this.
Well,
How does the commission
Pat
feel?
sent an email to Tricia saying that he had concerns about
Pat
that.
did last week.
Yeah.
Last week was a question, I sent another one today, because I know
Right.
that Laura was at a meeting today about, because it's, if you go access off a road, planning board's very involved in that, so, I mean, the whole topic of this only came up about a month ago, and the next thing, it's on the agenda for town meeting.
I know.
So it came pretty quick, but I agree, I think between now and, is that on the first meeting date? Is that on the, the third?
13th?
13th.
I talked to John
13th.
Dennehy about the other
Town meeting is the 13th.
13th.
There's another
Yeah.
one,
Then
Two.
January
No, I thought it was December.
December 3rd.
December 3rd.
Yeah.
Is that true?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Huh?
So December 3rd, voting.
Yeah, I don't think it's the town meeting.
Yeah, no, I think it's voting.
Town meeting's November.
It's November
I'm
13th.
not here December. I could have swore it was a town meeting, but
Why couldn't we?
And then the December one is if they approve some of this and it needs an override or whatever, it'll be on the 3rd. Am I right about that?
There's two special town meetings. One is the 13th, and then the other one is Wednesday, December 3rd. The one on December 3rd may be specific to the school and the police
The
fire
public,
building.
so what's this
Safety
one?
The
building.
13th is like a special fall meeting, like they usually have, where they cover a number of things. But this is one of the items that's on there.
There's an article on the 13th to relinquish the right-of-way, the town's use of the cart path or right-of-way that goes to the Appleton Field. So when we acquire the Crosby property, we'll build our own access. And the attorneys decided that the town should vote that.
That we actually could, because I was under the assumption when Crosby all started that the town, at that point in time, said we couldn't ever relinquish it, we weren't gonna use it.
Well, I think that's
Yeah.
where we're at. I don't- They've worded it
Yeah, well, I hope that's fine, because I just would like that to go through so we can
right.
get going on it.
Right.
It's been a long
Would
time.
would you like to put some comments together tonight that we bring up about the 40B parcel? I mean,
Well-
we could,
Well, the trade.
I mean, I understand roughly where the property is, and I understand some of the complexity of coming into the property. I mean, we don't know how that land, or at least I don't know how that land that the town forest has now, was it gifted to the town? Do we even have the right to do that?
State.
Right, and who has the authority, yeah.
I thought it was the state's.
I don't think so.
No?
no. The highway, I mean, the road
It
is,
says town forest, but I think it's the property of the state.
Oh, no, it's not
Yeah,
state.
Crandon Town Forest, it was interesting, part of the history of that was brought up at that piece that I went to, but I didn't take that class because I took a different one.
Uh-huh.
I knew about emerald borers now. But there's a fair amount of, I mean, that has to go almost through legislation and stuff, too.
right,
Yes,
it
I
does.
believe it does.
And it would have to go through town council, and then I think it does have to go through the legislature for a vote to take land that was conservation and do something else.
I mean,
with it.
maybe there's merit to doing it, but it just seems like we're the people that are supposed to be looking out for that, and we've had very little or no input on this piece at all.
And Frank is slighted.
No, I'm just,
Kidding.
He doesn't have enough to do.
Yes.
Well, you sent us an email about the delineation of the parcel. Have you heard any
Yes.
information?
Yes, we had, Attorney Adam Brodsky is involved with Jack Livingston with this parcel, and he came into the office and was talking about, and he told us it was under a different name, different ownership, and a different street name, so that's why we didn't have it in our records. And we do have the file, so it was downstairs under a different, we never looked that way. So now we have the full file, and we can look at it and say, well, here's where the confirmed wetland line is, so we at least know where they can and can't work. But as far as our input into the whole process, I mean, I agree with you.
so for pieces to do, can we even do this? And then B, I guess I'd want to be looking at the whole picture to see where the other potential wetlands crossings may be.
Right, to see which is more advantageous.
Right.
Or less invasive?
I mean, yeah,
If it
I
was-
know this doesn't fall into our purview, but part of the other thing to consider is if it's, let's say, are we allowed to, can I talk about this? 200, let's pretend, it might be as many as 200 houses, which might be as many as, 300 cars. They'd all be on Booth Hill Road if we don't grant this 3.
Yeah, no, I think, that's what I say, there's
Yeah.
probably some valid.
Yeah,
Right.
And getting some open space, but it really takes some,
yeah, it's gonna take some,
Review.
It's not a done deal.
it's gonna take some work,
Because you
for
want it.
sure.
Well, we should have all the facts to review.
Yeah, I wonder if a handout is being developed for a town meeting on this, that explains the whole vote.
Yeah, I was at the Board of Selectmen meeting when they announced it, and I asked a couple questions about, conservation's role in it and watershed and that type of thing.
And
They said that it would likely trigger the state first because it'd be a 40B, and then local bylaws may not be applicable.
There are still some wetland things that can be
Yep.
enforced, but was that 2 weeks ago, Bill? At
Yes, sir.
Board of Selectmen?
Yeah, I sent you guys an email.
Yeah, I remember. I think we should, ask for what information is available and distribute it, and then comment on it.
Yeah. Yeah, that would be
But
great.
this meeting is what, next week?
Yep,
Yeah.
that's Thursday.
Yeah. So very,
town
very
meeting.
soon.
I don't
Okay,
know.
well, the more you can find out and get out to us, it'd be
Yeah,
helpful.
because we grabbed the file today, and it definitely will start there, going through that.
Okay,
It looked like a lot of crossing would have to take place if it came in from Booth Hill Road.
right.
And if it's a project of that size, fire may require 2 access points into the site. It may not be just off the highway, and then it'd still be another crossing, I would think, so.
All right.
All right.
The premise for the Humrock DPW?
Okay, during the 2 recent storms, the highway department had to go out and do some emergency removal of the stones. They run the loader down the main strip, and then most of it gets pushed to the side where the residents are, on the beach side of Central Ave, that north end. There was evidence of some stone being placed on the marsh side. Where it had been done in the past, up past Duffy's house, there didn't seem to be any dumped in there. It was further down, closer to the 250s, 240s. And it was a town truck that had done some of the work. So we contacted Public Works, and the person who was out there working during the storm, they're under a lot of pressure to get the stone moved, thought that they weren't supposed to dump it on the marsh where it had been dumped in the past. And there was another area of stone that looked like it wasn't marsh, and that's where he figured was okay to do it. So we did it there. We got a number of calls and a number of photos, and that whole side of the street really should be off limits because it was marsh not that long ago, and it's covered with stone. Now it's covered with more stone. So we met with Public Works and with Tricia, and we talked about maybe the best way to handle is have them file a notice of intent for a plan for storms and storm cleanup for what Public Works can do down that end.
Have a designated areas as to where they can go.
Yeah, and it would be hard to even identify a designated area. So what they've done is they've hired an engineer from GZA engineering firm who they've worked with in the past. And there's a strip of North Central beginning right at Atlantic, and what's the side street that comes onto Central Atlantic? Is Barrett? Barrett. From Barrett, I believe, down to Cliff Road. Abutters will be notified. There'll be public hearing after the notice of intent is filed. And as big of an issue as the stones going on to that side of the street is, it has created a dam where the cobble is, and people are getting flooded, and they need to find a way to release the water out into the marsh. So as part of this notice, they're going to ask for areas where trenches can be brought out into the marsh to release the water. And, butters would need to be notified on that as part of this. So it's early in the stages. I invited them to come in informally and to run it by us before they file, because there may be things that, you all think of that should be considered. It's not going to get into the issue of stones on private driveways. That's a Public Works, Board of Selectmen, Town Administrator decision. But on the marsh side, we're going to be able to have a hearing, write conditions, and hear what possible solutions are out there.
Could I ask the that they extend that to at least Minot, which is a paper street. But our property, which is the other side of Barrett Street on the river, was flattened a year ago. The marsh completely destroyed.
2 years ago.
We'd like to
Right,
include it in this.
I think if it's a natural flow of cobble into the marsh, that's going to be allowed to continue. I mean, there's not going to be any effort to stop the natural movement of cobble. It's just going to prevent Public Works from adding stone to that side.
This is sand that they're bulldozing on. This is the sand that's washing down, and they push it out specifically onto our property and flatten it.
So this is being done as part of the emergency cleanup during the storm itself? or-
It happened when they hired landers. I've lost track. Last winter?
Might have been 2 winters ago,
2
Rosemary.
winters ago.
Yeah.
In one of the storms.
Yeah, biggie. But it's not cobble that's washing through.
Okay, it's sand up at
it's
your
sand.
end.
The other thing, Pat, is I understand why you say that the stones on people's property on the ocean side wouldn't be included in this, except by putting those stones there, that changes the flow of any water that floods onto other people's property.
Right, if someone came in here and said, I want to build a berm across my property,
We're
20
taking out a
feet high.
friggin' wall for one of these people, but they
Yeah.
can build piles of cobble. I think, honestly, I think that's all incorrect. I think it is a concern. It changes the flow of the water. It
It not
changes
only
everything
An
involved there.
informal would have been good, because that's a great point.
But it not only
Yeah.
changes the flow of water, and I'm just going to use my house as an example. My house is here, the ocean's behind me, and here's my driveway. And the minute they dumped the pile of cobble, the water no longer could come through directly. It hit the cobble, shot towards my house, and scoured my driveway.
Right,
So-
you're significantly altering a barrier
Right.
beach.
And so
removing
now,
giant
now the
berms.
water can no longer go to the river. Now it's digging underneath, and it's pulled out large sections of my driveway and slammed into the door. It will flood my basement.
Well, there's going to be a meeting about this.
My,
So, I mean, but there's another storm coming, and that's what I'm concerned about, because that pile is still there, and they're going to put more. And then,
Whatever
and
happened,
then I'll
how
end
come
up with a
they,
flooded basement.
for the long time, they hauled everything down and dumped it at the base of Fourth Cliff,
Cost.
but they don't do that anymore.
Yeah, the area wouldn't be large enough to handle all that did need to move, is one of the issues. I think Kevin's still open to, there's a town-owned lot there, using that, but I think the capacity would be used up quickly, maybe one storm even.
Are you
Well, you have
talking about
to,
the
you'd have to
end of
drive down
Fort
the
Cliff?
beach some and
Right
put it on the
right
beach.
across from Cliff.
Well,
yeah.
all it has to do is be plowed out, because what
Yeah,
they've
you'd
done,
have to put it
it's
on the
plowed
beach.
out, and there's pavement and everything there. All they have to do is push it through, and they would be able to dump it all on the beach. But there's 3 different places.
Yeah, the private beach issue came up when this discussion was going on, as far as taking a truck and bringing it across private property down there. You know, in other parts of the town, an easement has been granted by the property owners.
I offered to give them an
know.
easement, because I'm like halfway in
But
between.
the private thing's very interesting, but it's okay to dump
Dump it on private
20
property.
yards of fill on private
Private
property.
I'm just filling you in on the information.
My argument isn't the
sensitive to-
legality of dumping, that is a different issue from us.
Yeah.
But my argument is that it's very definitely a conservation issue that's affecting the other property.
Right.
Right.
Right. One thing about the private property issue in the other part of town is, if you get someone that says, yeah, you can cross on my property, and the next one says no, and the next one says yes, you really can't take it too far down the beach.
I
It
already
would be one
talked to
of
my,
those.
I talked to my
Right.
neighbor. I've talked, because I wanted to be able to try to help the town. One, it helps the homeowners. Two, it helps the town, because the cobble's not sitting there, because they don't plow the road completely, and the cobble sits there. The wind, anything moves it. Now the road narrows to the point where it's only one way, and the town has to keep going and plowing, putting it back up and replowing. I just figure it would be a win-win. It'd save the town a lot of money.
Are we getting all this in the minutes?
We've
Because
had
I
this-
can put this all into a memo.
We've had this same discussion
Yeah.
here before. Nobody sitting here right now has the authority
Right.
Right.
Right, so we're
But there is
just,
one other thing,
No,
though.
but the point that Bill brought up didn't come up in this meeting as far as, Rich brought up. Rich,
Right.
it's Rich.
Doesn't
It was
matter.
Rich.
Doesn't matter.
Rich brought up about,
Yeah.
that.
Good point, it was
That's
his.
preventing something from going where it should have gone, it is altering. That's,
But now, here, let me throw
similarities.
something else into the scenario. So as it dug up our driveway, my husband called our insurance company to find out, and the insurance company told him, you need to do something immediately to mitigate the situation, or they're not going to cover it.
Right.
So, what do you do? I mean, I've had more people come into my house, and, I send them your way, but it would be nice to be able to give them some kind of an answer.
I think
Call
it's,
TPW.
Is there
Yeah,
anything
I
new
think
in
it's-
this?
I did that too.
yeah. I think it's progress that there's a notice of intent being filed, but it may need to be expanded to address some other issues here.
And I can't believe that actually, that end of Humrock is the only point in town that has this issue. I mean, it's got to affect some parts of mine.
Well, Oceanside gets...
Mine has a wall.
Oceanside.
Yeah, Oceanside gets some, but they seem to have a place to put it, because it,
Do, down the end of the beach.
area.
Yeah.
you know,
That whole stretch.
And Peggotty has a whole
Yeah.
situation that's difficult every year, too. That's
you know,
a
and it
tough
washes
spot.
into that marsh by Kent Street,
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
and, but that's filling in.
Yeah. Yeah.
But this problem didn't happen until the people were forced to tear their seawalls down, which now has opened it up and has caused this.
Maybe your
Wow.
last meeting. No, I think some of them were in disrepair and they didn't allow to rebuild, you're right. But
right,
they
but
weren't.
then you
yeah.
had all
But it's-
houses on foundations that
Right.
provide a shadow to block some of this, and now they're on
Islands,
islands.
and the water just whips
Flows
through.
through, yeah.
We're not gonna solve it
Right.
here.
Yeah.
Right.
It's good they're having a meeting. and-
Right.
And.
And-
send the
But I think
abutters.
the piece of dumping this they gotta find a place to put this material that is not gonna impact the individuals along the road, and at the same time, it's not gonna be putting it on the marsh. And it is kind of ironic, I mean, like you say, it's okay
Both
for that
put it back
material
on
to
the
be
beach.
naturally placed. You know, if it
Yeah.
filled in the whole marsh and even part of the South River on a storm, if Mother Nature does it, it's okay. But if we dump material
Right.
on the other side of the road, they can stay on that.
Well, I sent you those pictures. Hull's putting it right back on the beach.
See, we used to do that.
It's big revolving.
It's his last meeting, too. Down to 4.
So, okay, so that's good stuff to discuss at the meeting about
Yeah.
that.
Well, I think
It's
before he
basically better to
files
try-
even.
Try to resolve it before
I think Bill and Lisa should go to that meeting.
people,
Which one's that?
Which one's that?
I'll skip it.
Okay.
No, but I think these are things we could bring up before
When do they
he
go-
files.
So, I mean, if they file, it's gonna come before us.
Right, right. But I mean, this will not be addressed if they file with the information they have right now, so we need to, I'd like to see them come in informally, but we don't want to wait too long because the winter is starting.
Right.
and-
It's here.
Yeah.
Right,
Well,
so you
there's
said,
already berms
so
there that aren't even-
GSA?
GZA.
GZA
Yeah.
is gonna
I
do a
have his
filing.
name, yeah.
William.
Thank you.
Okay.
Peter Williams.
but just to let you know, only because I've been trying to watch the flow of water to try to lend some help. And I can just speak for the marsh across the street from my house. In this past storm, because some of the cobble was pushed down, it wasn't removed, but we tried to push it down to give the water a chance to go over, and it went over 3/4 of the way. It almost reached the river. And when it was heading that way, you didn't have that water rushing down the street because it had a path to go. And the same thing for further down around 271, where all that cobble was filled in the paper street. If that paper street was open, it would go right through, because the next paper street down, you
Right.
could see
Right.
the little path of where the water went through.
What they're trying to do is line it up with the paper streets. So the release points will be the paper streets, because they understand there is a river running down Central until it reaches a low
Right,
point.
because the paper streets
Streets are
are
filled
blocked
in.
in,
Yeah,
yeah.
they're all filled
yeah.
in.
I mean,
Right.
why don't we I think if we just let Mother Nature take her course that way, instead of fighting it, we'll save ourselves a lot of grief and expense.
So this will be a good hearing, because every
Yeah.
abutter on Central Ave will be getting
Oh, yeah,
a
it'll be
notice.
a well-attended meeting.
And I'll mention maybe the length of the area they're considering may not be enough.
Yeah,
That's what I'm not-
okay.
It really isn't enough. I'd even go further, almost to Newport Street. But,
A lot of troublemakers
Craneswood,
on
maybe.
They don't
Newport.
really push it.
no, they don't push it, but that's where the water problem starts, yeah.
Just floods.
It's just floods,
You're
right.
just in the lake.
Right, right. Okay.
Okay, glad I brought that up.
There's nobody here that's really interested.
Too many Humrock people on the commission.
Hey. We have a request from Mr. Morse to change your order of conditions.
It was a
Amend it.
request for an amended order, and it
Yeah.
just came in, so we haven't had a chance to look at it, so we'll put it on the agenda for the next time, but this is related to...
Fertilizer and pesticides.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, that's, yeah.
Yeah, got it.
And this, I mean, this is probably the best approach for him to take, because it gets it on the agenda for a vote, and,
It's probably not. a
you know,
good
then
idea.
if it's accepted, or if not, it can be appealed. But right now, our bylaw doesn't allow them to waive this condition. So we'll see what happens. I mean, we talked about it may be that it's too strictly worded for all circumstances, but I think it requires us to make a change to allow this. I don't think on a case-by-case, if we're following the regs, we could just grant it right off the bat. But we'll have a hearing and,
Yeah, he's asked me about this before.
yeah, several times, and we understand what he's saying.
Right. If it's sensible, people are more likely to follow it,
Exactly,
too.
exactly. And there is a set of rules that the North-South River Commission has, and it's less strict than ours, so.
Okay, excuse me. Right, we got anything else?
Just that I wrote a letter to John Clarkson about his water resource, water
Oh, yeah,
conservation. And I don't know, is he waiting for us to sign that, or is he coming back?
Yeah, he wanted a vote, I think, right? A vote of support?
Yeah, and
Well,
he
who
wanted
sent
that
your
letter, because he
comments?
sent us a template to sign.
Oh, so he wants that now, you think?
I didn't know if he was gonna come back and ask for it or not. Want me to ask him?
If you could ask him, just let me know if he needs the letter, we can...
Can do.
And,
Have a letter ready, but
Yeah.
Did you email that out? You'll-
Yes, sir.
I'll do it again?
Be happy to, sir.
Thank you.
Not to us.
I might have,
I think you sent the draft, everybody got the draft.
I
didn't.
responded to it.
yes, you did.
Yeah.
Oh, no, we were supposed to
I
respond.
sent out a letter asking for
Comments, yeah.
comments.
Yeah.
And then I sent back, the only person that got comments back from, and formed a letter and sent it to Pat and John, and I will send it to everybody.
Thanks, Bill.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
I sent him comments too, but I don't remember whether he said he wanted a vote or just a letter.
Didn't reply to the letter that I sent him,
If it-
or
I
the
thought he
letter
just
that you
wanted
sent.
a show of support or comment, that sort of.
He did send us a template saying, here, I want a letter, that I can take it to the Board of Selectmen, and I've taken the opportunity to draft a letter for you. So,
If that's what he wants and he needs it before we meet again, are we in agreement that a letter should be sent then?
it's a great report.
Yeah.
Really is
Yeah.
cool.
No,
And,
Yep.
the only thing we brought up was the possibility of desalinization, and I had said maybe we should look at, permitting private wells if there's no regulations up to this point, should some department
Yeah.
look at it at some point in the future.
That's why we bought Pier 44, so we
Yeah.
could put a desalinization plant there.
Excellent idea.
We need some industry in the town, that's a perfect way to do it. We're bad
Oh,
tonight.
are we done?
We're really bad tonight.
Thank you.
There's a couple of requests for certificates of compliance. People are waiting.
Hurry up.
Okay.
Lot 2 Dreamwald, 7 Colby's Run.
We still can't do that.
The restrictive covenant draft was sent to him, and I think he was going to send it back with an okay. Is that what he was going to do?
He had Stephen Guard, attorney, look at it, and Stephen Guard did it. Fancy one. I emailed it to Liam to see if the people were going to sign it, and I haven't received it back.
Okay,
So you're waiting on that.
so we can continue that one, okay.
All right, move on.
180 Central Ave, this one is all set. This was the one where there was a deck put on pilings, and we weren't sure how deep the pilings were banged in, and then, since then, we've gotten photos showing that they were banged in, and I think they're all set. So
Okay.
Neil was okay with it, too.
Yep.
Building. And then 57 Kingsway was all set, too. That was an old one, and that was
Yeah.
all completed.
Yeah.
Good.
And Tickner Court, have you gotten a plan back from them?
Carol spoke with them today. We got the plan back, and we got they've already put the plants in, several of plants. They just, the grass can't get taken out because it's holding the soils in place, but
Yeah.
it was the plants we talked about. But they still owe the check and the request for the certificate.
Right.
So the people purchasing the home are probably just going to ask us for a letter saying, do we have any concerns? And it's more, 2 years it takes for the plans, so that'd be the only thing, so they'll
But are they
hold,
going to give us, their engineer was going to draft a plan,
yeah,
even if it's an as-built plan,
right.
right?
Right, we haven't received that yet,
Okay.
so. And Carol emailed them today, or yesterday? Yeah.
And Ward called and said that they really hadn't even asked for a certificate yet, they were just trying to mitigate.
Yeah,
Well, that's good. Get it over and done with before then.
yeah. So they'll sell it, but they'll hold money in escrow
Yeah.
to make sure it's
Okay.
done, so. But, I mean, they've lost a big side of that yard, but this is what the original agreement was, right, Penny?
Oh, that's
Well,
the
that's
one that we
the
went out
thing.
to?
It is,
Yeah.
it is.
But I think that we reached a reasonable
Yeah.
compromise there,
Yep.
you know, with working with the people.
That's right.
Yes.
It's what we do.
For the town, we're here to help you.
Yep. We're on your side.
Okay. Anything else?
Point of
That's it.
information, has there been a decision on when our first meeting in December is?
If we get something submitted by Wednesday, we'll have to have a meeting on the 10th. Is that right, Carol? Is that what we think?
I believe that's all.
Yeah, so we won't
Be the
know
3rd.
until Wednesday. It won't be the 3rd.
Okay.
We have a meeting on the 19th, but we'll know before the 19th.
Okay.
Be either the 10th or the 17th.
Well, 19th
We've
or
already got one
what?
on the 17th.
No,
Right,
we have a meeting on the
right.
17th.
We would not have one
You
in
said the
between the
10th, right,
19th
Carol,
and the
when we were
17th.
talking about this one?
10th and 17th.
Yeah, I put-
Or just the 17th.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You don't wanna have one on the
I plugged in 10th
24th?
and 17th.
Yeah.
Yeah, when is the Conservation Christmas party?
Did you say you were hosting one?
Yeah.
Yeah, and Pat's paying.
That's, yeah, I'm the only paid one here, right?
That's right, we're all free.
We'll put off the trails meeting till December, and we'll have a combine.
There we go, great idea.
No, I'm good.
Okay.
I think we're done. Are we done?
So we know that we're going to have a meeting on the 17th, but other than that, we're not,
We're undecided on the 10th?
Yeah,
Right.
she'll know the end of the week.
okay.
Okey dokey.
Okay, then I make the motion to adjourn.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Good.